Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather T9 meteorologist Nathan Shaw joined with our weather intern Rachel Grant. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Nate at 8. Of course, a pretty dreary and wet start to the day, but ending brighter and drier going into the course of this evening. And overall, the temperature is not real warm, but the humidity, it's not budging.
It's a killer for us this week.
And unfortunately, just like you mentioned, Rachel, just not lowering. I mean, it's just going to be a humid stretch of weather as we go through the week. So thanks so much for joining us. Coming up for this edition of Day to Day, some of the things we're going to be talking about with that humidity in place and remaining warm are more rounds of rain. So yes, while we're drying up here for this evening, we're going to be tracking some more showers and thunderstorms throughout the week. And yes, unfortunately, the potential for strong severe thunderstorms and localized flooding is there with these rounds of rain that we'll be going to be watching. So that's a bit of what we're going to be talking about for this edition of Nate at 8. So again, thanks so much for tuning in. Let's jump on into things. Starting off with the time lapse for today. And of course, it's pretty dreary and wet start. We saw some rounds of rain in addition to a lot of cloud cover early on. But of course, as the day did progress, we started to spot a little more of those blue skies. And now we're going to be spotting even less of the cloud cover. You can see that decrease in the cloud cover, that trend on the time lapse going throughout the course of this afternoon and evening. And we'll deal with that decrease in the cloud cover, decrease in wind speeds, and of course, even the decrease in precipitation. And as we extend into the overnight hours, any of these stray showers that are still remaining will be tapering off. And at that point, we're going to be setting up for likely some good conditions to spot some areas of fog developing going into tomorrow morning as we see that reduction in visibility.
Yeah, so we'll be seeing some fog developing overnight, really starting to develop between midnight and 2 a.m. And it's going to set us up for a good amount of fog for the early morning commutes, like 6, 7 a.m. If you're leaving that time, that's your morning commute time. Just be extra careful on the road because your visibility is very much reduced.
Yeah, and it's a situation may want to allow yourself a little extra time to get to your destination tomorrow morning. It can certainly slow you down a little bit for tomorrow morning, dealing with some of those areas of fog. And after that fog lifts, overall tomorrow is a pleasant day. Not as high of a rain threat as what we had for today, dealing with just a slight chance that we'll be seeing a shower develop in the afternoon. But that being said, most of not all of us, they're going to staying dry. Temperatures very warm, but that makes a sun of clouds. And while it's humid, it'll feel likely even into the 90s when you factor in the heat and humidity for Tuesday afternoon. Then likely staying dry Tuesday night to Wednesday morning, but then notice even going throughout the first half of Wednesday, could spot that shower moving in, and then better odds for scattered showers and thunderstorms returning Wednesday afternoon and evening. And this just starts that unsettled pattern, just resuming then going into the second half of the week, as even Wednesday night, we can see a few showers and a thunderstorm continue into Thursday morning, and then by Thursday afternoon, dealing with more scattered showers and thunderstorms. So rain chances are really picking back up by Wednesday, continuing Thursday, Friday. Good odds for those showers and thunderstorms, still more scattered in nature, but again, better odds to see those showers and thunderstorms in the area Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's more of a slight chance than Tuesday, and it does look like that slight chance does return at least briefly on Saturday before it picks back up on Sunday. So we'll deal with that. It's more of a slight chance Tuesday into Saturday, and then we'll deal with more scattered showers and thunderstorms looking likely going into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So catching on some comments before we jump ahead as we look ahead going further into next week. Patrick saying, what's the weather? Well, it's warm and humid.
Yeah.
Warm and humid.
Chances of rain here or there.
Yeah. That's it. That's the weather. Yeah, absolutely. Good evening there, Austin. Saying good evening to us. Saying the weekend was hot and steamy. Yep. Surprised to see rain while it was sunny yesterday afternoon. Mowed early in the morning yesterday, and it was still very hot. I know even in the morning in these evening hours, it's still just rather warm, isn't it? And muggy as well. Lola, good evening. Any break in this humidity? Unfortunately not, Lola. Unfortunately, it looks like a real humid stretch of weather ahead for us coming up. Charlene, good evening from New Manchester. Charlene's joining us. Humidity was back this afternoon before noon. Wasn't so bad, but then hot again. Have a good evening. You do a great job keeping us updated. Thank you, Charlene. Thanks you for joining us for this edition of Nate at 8. And good evening, Joe. Thanks for joining us as well. Everyone, thank you for joining us for this edition of Nate at 8. So rain chances, yes, like Rachel said, come and go. These showers and thunderstorms come and go as we go throughout the week, though a lot of them will be more scattered in nature, and rain chances can vary a little bit day to day, but certainly that constant variable, it's this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this humidity, and we're not really seeing a break from the humidity anytime this week. We're kind of seeing it right now at the moment. We're dipping down into the uncomfortable category, but that's not lasting for long either. So just if you are outside, enjoy it while it's here. Even though it's not much of a relief, it will surely be instant sweat as soon as you walk outside throughout the rest of this week.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's just going to be a pretty brutal stretch. And the unfortunate part is that, last week it was looking like this coming weekend, maybe we could see that lowering some, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like way anymore. Unfortunately, it's going to be pretty consistent. There's very little breaks, if any, in that humidity, the unbearably humid conditions, that is. And likely continues through this weekend. I think for a lot of next week, I don't see an end in sight, unfortunately. And this is quite a historic stretch of humid weather. And I think this could be, a string here of dealing with this humid weather that we have not seen in decades for us here in the Ohio Valley, if not possibly the longest on record, because oftentimes this time of the year, these low temperatures can be very influenced by the dew point, where the dew point can be the limiting factor. So when we string together these overnight lows into the 60s, if not 70s, you deal with a lot of these warm overnight lows. It's a good indication you're also dealing with some pretty humid conditions. And, we've got, I think, good odds here that we're stringing together one of the longest, if not the longest, stretches of low temperature, 63 plus. 63 has been our coolest low at the Ohio County airports since June 21st. And we're likely looking at a whole month straight here as we look ahead that we're dealing with lows 63 plus. I'd be talking about the longest on record for Wheeling. And even if we look at very consistent climate records at Pittsburgh, very consistent climate records dating back to the late 1800s. And even those, this could very well rival into the top three. And their coolest low at Pittsburgh International Airport was 64 during the same stretch. So could be looking at one of the longest, maybe the longest stretch on record. That's even for Pittsburgh, which, again, great climate records dating back consistently since the late 1800s. So that's why I say this could be the longest stretches in decades, maybe on record for, we could talk about a couple hundred years. I mean, that's pretty remarkable of dealing with that significant of a stretch here of these warm, muggy nights, and reflection then of the humidity as well. So that being said, dealing with a lot of the moisture present in the atmosphere, we're going to get it with those heavy downpours, and you deal with some of those torrential downpours, and then we deal with, unfortunately, the potential for localized flooding. And as you can see, it's with us on a daily basis, Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday, where we're dealing with those scattered showers and thunderstorms, heavy downpours and showers, torrential downpours and thunderstorms, and that potential for localized flooding on a daily basis, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's just a situation where, unfortunately, we do have to keep weather aware, stay vigilant, and keep an eye on the changing weather conditions, watch out for any warnings issued, and, of course, be prepared to take action if a warning were to be issued. Now, the categories of this excessive rainfall outlook, you notice we're under that level 1 here over that 3-day stretch, which does mean, again, the threat is anticipated to be more localized or isolated, right? We're not anticipating a widespread or numerous coverage of flooding events, but that localized flash flooding is certainly possible. And primarily affecting places that can experience rapid runoff. So, that's what we're primarily concerned about when it comes to potential for more localized flash flooding concerns as we get into the latter part of this week. And on the daily basis as well, I don't think it's, again, not a high risk, right? It's likely more isolated as well, but then there is that potential to deal with some strong to severe thunderstorms as well. So it's another thing a factor we'll have to watch for, and damaging winds would likely be the primary concern, but that isolated strong and severe thunderstorm is possible as well. So, but both are possible, and it's just those situations where just have to closely monitor anything that's developing in the afternoon, evenings. Now, a lot of this is again hit or miss, likely for a lot of the stretch. A lot of it's more scattered in nature, but it's just one of those things we have to keep an eye on. And rain chances then, Rachel, thankfully, look to lower at least a little bit Saturday, but there's a lot more rain icons on there.
Yeah, so tomorrow is looking like our biggest break from the rain for this week up until the weekend. And even then, that break's not lasting throughout all the weekend. It's coming back on Sunday. So, like you said before, it's definitely going to be hit or miss as we're entering into the weekend and next week. Wednesday's looking like that's where most of the rain's going to come through Wednesday afternoon. A greater chance is there, but Thursday and Friday is most likely hit or miss.
Yeah, it's even when we're dealing with those higher rain chances, it's not a complete washout in the day. It's still dry times to be had for all these days, likely going through the weekend. It's just certainly better odds on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday to have to dodge that thunderstorm into the afternoon and evening hours. Renee says, good evening. The heat is horrible. And I agree, Renee. We agree with you there. The heat, I think we're both over it too. So yeah, we're done with the heat and humidity. That's for sure. Patrick says, I'm landscaping this Wednesday. Is it going to be raining in the morning on Wednesday? And I think you're mostly dry Wednesday morning. Before in the afternoon, evening, you'll have to dodge more of that rain. Can't quite roll out a shower, but it does look real wet into Wednesday morning. So you should be okay, Patrick. Ella, good evening. Thank you for joining us, Ella. And Austin saying this morning was refreshing. Finished mowing, started sprinkling, then started raining. Not the first time I mowed in the rain. I guess you could say that I got a Mother Nature shower from mowing. There you go. The Mother Nature shower. There we go. It probably felt good. Probably cooling off a little bit from that shower and mowing. That's for sure. Hans, good evening. Good evening, Hans. And James says, would be really nice if you'd get us 4 or 5 days of dry weather so we can get the first cutting of hay all in. And yeah, that's been the kicker with this pattern as well. We cannot string together that many dry days. I mean, we can get a few, but that's been it. So it's been a wet pattern and a humid pattern, and fairly warm as well. Nothing excessive when it comes to the heat, but certainly the humidity, in addition to dealing with just a lot of at least rain chances pretty much on a daily basis. So yeah, we cannot string together. Hopefully that's on the horizon, but at least for now here over a lot of the next couple of weeks, it's unfortunately doesn't look to come to fruition. But yeah, hopefully we can get into a more quiet pattern under a ridge. And at that point, we'll be probably getting into the 90s, a hot stretch, but at least at that point it would be dry. That would be the kicker of that. In this time of the year, you get into those dry, sunny patterns, and then it just gets hot, but at least it would be dry. But unfortunately not here anytime soon over the next couple of weeks. Heat is bad and the humidity, Ella says. Prayers for no more flooding. Hopefully not, Lola. But unfortunately, it is one of those situations where you just have to keep weather where it is possible throughout this week. Hope and prayers for everyone for the upcoming rain, especially everyone in Texas. Yes, absolutely, Austin. Still thoughts and prayers with those. And I know still thoughts and prayers with those affected here locally in Ohio County. Still, a lot of recovery efforts still ongoing. So certainly thoughts and prayers with those affected from flooding really across the nation, including here locally in Ohio County. It's been some bad flooding instances this year, and likely due to this excessive amount of these humid conditions. A lot of dealing a lot more moisture present in the atmosphere. You can get these heavier downpours, and of course that just equates to then heavier downpours and higher flooding concerns. And I'm sure that played some factors into dealing with other areas of flooding that have happened as of recent. Good evening from Pigeon Forge. Patty joining us from Pigeon Forge. Thanks for joining us, Patty. And thanks again to everyone tuning in to this edition of Nate at 8. We are certainly going to be doing the cool down dance. I don't know what that one is, but we don't need the rain dance, that's for sure. But certainly hoping to see that relief from humidity at least some point here near term. But again, the next 10 days, I unfortunately don't see it. Maybe as we get towards the very end of this month, hopefully we can start to break this and get into a dry pattern as well. I know James and a lot of the area farmers, would love to. We cannot get it, but we need to get that dry stretch in. Unfortunately, just not coming to fruition. So hopefully we can muster that maybe at the end of the month or into August at some point coming up soon. Hopefully we can finally start to break this pretty relentless, humid and wet pattern that has been in place as of recent. Of course, until we get there, right, stay vigilant, keep weather aware, download the Severe Weather T9 mobile app, a great tool to have into these situations where precipitation is more hit or miss. It'll give you a heads up when rain's heading your way. Of course, if any warnings issued for your location, also will let you know if lightning's been detected near you as well. So it's a handy tool to have for this time of the year to keep, weather aware into the afternoon and evening hours. So it's been a pleasure as always. We're glad that you could tune into this edition of Nate at 8. Thank you so much for watching. Hope everyone can stay cool. And Rachel and I are still going to be, we'll come up with a less humid and cool down dance and a dry dance as well. We got to combine it all into one. And hopefully we'll come to fruition. That's what we're certainly hoping for. But again, unfortunately, this weekend, a lot of next, Rachel, just doesn't look like it, does it?
No. And it looks like if any of the days, Friday might be the least warmest day of the week, but that's not even much of a relief.
Little cool down, right? Little cool down, but unfortunately still just rather humid again on Friday as well. But at least hopefully we could string together a stray shower potential, but hopefully we could string together Tuesday or tomorrow and then Saturday. Hopefully we can sneak in at least a couple mainly dry days at least here in the Ohio Valley. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Catch us coming up News 9 and 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11 for the latest. And as always, you can tune in for that next edition of Nate at 8, bringing the latest tomorrow evening as well. Until then, have a great night. We'll see you on the next edition of Nate at 8.